Hi, I'm Alex Badenoch and I'm the Group Executive Transformation, Communication and People at Telstra, and this is my episode of LinkedIn Talent Streams. We started to have conversations about people's mental health and well-being at a different level than we'd ever had before. So I don't think that change and the level of change is necessarily problematic. It's when you start to try and hold on to the past that people start to feel anxious, because that actually is impossible. The world's shifted. We've lived very, very differently for the last 18 months, and we've redefined what a number of things, both at work and at home and in school and in life, are going to be. The technology shortage in Australia has been one that has been an issue for us and one we should have and need to have been thinking about for many years. COVID-19 has exacerbated the issue because the demand for technology skills has just gone up. Everyone's had to think about how do they transform, how do they go online, how do they allow their customers to interact with them digitally, and that means you need people with the skills to do that. As well as training our own people here in Australia, what we did was invested in an innovation centre in India. So we are building a workforce there as well, which gives us access to a huge market of technical skills. There is no more topical issue than the Great Resignation. I've heard a few people talk about the Great Realignment, where people are making different choices about who they work for, and that's about wanting more choice, about working in the way they want to work, when they want to work, why they want to work. So are they aligned to an organisation who shares their purpose? What we need to be doing as an employer is think about this at two dimensions, which is one, holistically, why are people choosing to leave? People are choosing to leave for the same reasons they always chose to leave. I've got a bad leader, I don't get the flexibility I need, I don't get the career development that I need. So as an organisation, you have to step back and think about, am I serving those primary needs of top talent that are going to make them want to join, and more importantly, going to make them want to stay? But my personal view and what I'm seeing at Telstra says, the job I've got to do is make it a great place to work. Not sit there and talk about the Great Resignation, but actually just make it a really, really great place to work. What does hybrid mean to me? The first thing is it definitely doesn't mean working in a pandemic. We haven't had a choice about where we work. We have had to be at home. Hybrid is all about choice. I can work from home when I want to, I can work from the office, or I can work in between. At Telstra, for example, we're thinking about setting up people at home by giving them all the tools they need. They can come into a CBD office and be back in the world of several hundred or several thousand colleagues. Or if they want a shorter commute, they can think about a regional site that might be closer to home. For me, hybrid is about that blended experience. I think it's really exciting. It's something that will open up a whole new world for people to live where they want, to work far more flexibly, whether it's days or hours or who they sit alongside. So I think it's a fabulous new possibility, and one that we're only really just starting to explore properly now. When we all started talking about hybrid, I think there was a lot of commentary out there as to it wouldn't be as productive. We'd all be sitting at home with our feet up and not working hard. At Telstra, we wanted to test that, and the research was really insightful, because if you actually truly implement hybrid, it can create jobs, it can increase productivity by over 20%, it absolutely can grow employee engagement, and as a consequence of being more productive with more highly engaged employees and attracting the very best talent, it lets you also serve your customers better. So it's a fabulous virtuous cycle. In the first lockdown, I started to come under a bit of pressure from some of the people I worked with to say, okay, when are we bringing everyone back in? When are we going to define this new normal? But new normal, they were still defining as coming back to the office. And I remember at that time asking people to slow down, because everything said that it wasn't going to be a smooth ride. And actually maybe this wasn't a moment to give certainty by going backwards, but actually certainty could be defined by painting a new picture and thinking about what the future was going to look like. On one hand, hybrid work absolutely removes barriers. It suddenly makes doing a drop-off or a pickup a little bit more achievable. And if you have any form of disability, then it can also open doors that were once shut in terms of employment. But what we need to be really conscious of in doing this is making sure that everyone participates in the same way. One of the things that we've done, we did it pre-COVID, but it now has even more relevance, is remove the role of primary caregiver in our parental leave policy. And that means that our male employees have the same access to paid leave as the women in our business, which means that even if their partner is the primary caregiver and at home, they can take leave alongside them. And it does a couple of things. It means today at Telstra we have over 50% of people on parental leave are men. And I never thought I'd see that day, and that's a pretty awesome thing. We decided that if we said that we were truly flexible, why did our jobs need to actually be tied to a location anymore? The two things weren't congruent. It was a bit tricky. Not everyone was lined up to advertise jobs in that way, but our jobs are not tied to a location. Even our call centre roles, for example, 100% of our jobs are virtually enabled, which means you can do it from anywhere in Australia, which opens the door again to more talent. It helps people live where they want to live and still be able to work and have the same access into our workplace. Onboarding in an environment where, one, a lot gets done virtually, and two, you're location agnostic, is something you have to be really thoughtful about. It's about using virtual where it makes sense and it can do the job. It's about always embracing that you still want to bring people together for the right reasons at the right times, and then make sure you put the right support structures around people to learn and grow. Flexibility can't have boundaries. It has to be a global approach. People are asking us to apply a whole different level of flexibility, which is, can I work out of San Francisco for a year so that I can be around my parents? I want to take a career break and spend time with my family in Italy for 6 months. One of our only rules is we actually have to have operations there, so we have to be able to payroll you. So as long as I can payroll you, really it doesn't matter. Don't knock it till you've tried it. To embrace hybrid and to embrace flexibility, you have to trust that people actually are there to do the right thing, and that the majority of people will always work hard. It is something I believe very deeply, and you should never run your rules to manage the exception. Your rules should apply to the majority of people. Good leadership today is the same as it was yesterday. It is about simple things. In a world with a lot of change or with virtual working, do your people know what's expected of them? Have you set clear goals? Do they know what success looks like? Because when people do, they're really empowered to go and do a great job, whether they're sitting in front of you, whether they're not. The second is, do you know your people? Are you actually making time to have conversations that are a little more than sort of passing how are yous? One of the things that the pandemic did is it really heightened that focus on check-ins and making sure that people were okay. I think understanding the whole person has taken on a whole new level. I know a lot more about my colleagues' family, their children, their dogs, their habits than I did 18 months ago, but that's a good thing. The last 18 months have created a platform or an opportunity for HR to challenge things, to drive change, to be transformational and to have massive impact and relevance for organisations. HR needs to come to the fore and really understand what the company's strategy is and what mix of skills you're going to need when, and be far more proactive about building skills. And I think, last but not least, that human conversation, which has been so significant in the last 18 months, HR has a responsibility to keep it going in organisations and not let it be something that was just there because we were dealing in this moment of challenge, but actually embrace it as a way of being in the workplace. Being human is good, and we have an opportunity to embrace that like never before.